Hello, we're going to go through 6 great background masking techniques in Photoshop. This is the second technique, the background eraser tool. So if you're in my web design class or any of my other classes that are doing this, the first thing you need to do is save your file in the correct place with the correct name. So I'm going to go to File and Save As. I'm going to find the shared drive, the S drive, student shared, Dropbox, and go all the way down to web design. Now, all of your assignments have the exact path that you're supposed to follow on your assignment, and there should be a little sticker on the side of the computer that tells you exactly how to get there as well. So feel free to fast forward to the actual Photoshop part, but I'm going to go ahead and save this as my last name, underscore, and then this one is the background eraser tool. So we already did the magic eraser tool. This is the second one, the background eraser tool. So I'm going to go ahead and save, say OK. One thing that I did wrong was that I didn't change this to a Photoshop file. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And now I'm ready to go. And it has a .psd there, so now we're good. Now the directions in the Google Classroom say to find the background eraser tool. So again, all these tools, when you do a hard press, you'll see that other tools will show up. So I was using the eraser tool at the end of that last one. I've got to switch to the background eraser tool. The directions tell us that this is meant to be used along the edges of an object, and the center of the brush determines which similar colors to erase. So you can see that I'm actually going to zoom in here. I'm going to click on the magnifying glass and click a couple times to zoom in, and then I'm going to go back to my background eraser tool, and you can see that there's like a little plus sign in the middle of the circle here. If I click the plus sign anywhere on the B, it will erase the B. But if I get my circle on the B but the plus sign is not, then I'm good. So the very first step is to use this background eraser tool, making sure that the plus sign doesn't go on the B, and I just want to go all the way around the B and to get all of the edges and to not mess up by getting too much. And I think that I did, but that's okay. I'm kind of doing that on purpose to show you how you could fix it. So here we are. This is how to select the all the way around. And that didn't take very long at all. The next thing that it tells you to do is to open the history palette. And so you have to go up here to Window, and there's History. It's ABC order pretty much. So Window, History. And now I have this history panel, and it goes through all the steps. It shows me the history of what I've done so far. So that's pretty useful. We'll get back to that in a minute. But now that I've outlined the image in the directions here in Google Classroom, I can scroll down. Here's the background eraser technique. And we have already outlined the B, so we made it all the way here. So now let's get rid of the rest of the background. It wants us to select the magic wand tool, to set the tolerance to 100, and click the contiguous box. Then we click the background. So step 1, magic wand tool. We got to find it. This is the magic wand tool. Okay. Contiguous, there's the box for contiguous. And then I forget what the tolerance was. 100. Okay, so in Photoshop, here's the tolerance. I'm going to change that to 100. And now I'm going to click around the B, and it's selected all of this stuff around the B. So if I hit delete, it just deletes everything I've selected. So that's perfect. Now I'm going to hit Control and D to deselect. Or you can just click on one of these other selection tools on the side and just click once. And now I've deselected. So you can see that I've gotten rid of the background, and that looks pretty good. The only issue is that there's like chunks of my B missing, and that doesn't look very good. So now it's time to use the History Brush tool. And the History Brush allows you to paint over the image and actually restore the parts back to their original state that you had accidentally deleted before. So this is a regular paintbrush tool over here on the left. If I hold down, no, I don't see it there. There's another paintbrush tool. If I just let my mouse there, Art History. So I want the History Brush tool. So I'm going to select the History Brush tool. And up here at the top, I can adjust the size of my paintbrush. So this is clearly way too big, 369 pixels. Holy cow, that's too much. So 59 and 51, that's still too big. I think for me, 12 pixels is probably good. So I'm just going to kind of round out the back side here of this little guy, and I'm painting it back on. And I'm painting the foot back on. So there we go. I was able to use this history brush tool and the history palette to put the edges back on. So I just have 2 steps now. I need to create a new layer, new layer, and say OK. And you can see my layers here in the corner. I want to put the B on the top, so I'm on the bottom layer. And I grab my paint bucket tool. And I'm going to pick a color. It doesn't matter what color, just probably not yellow or black, so we have a little contrast. Make sure you're on the background layer. See how it's gray? And that has created a background. Ooh, you can see I need to clean up the edges a little bit. It's looking a little ugly. Now on the B layer, I'm going to go to Effects and choose Drop Shadow. And then again, I can adjust the distance so that I can see how far it comes out and say OK. And now actually I have one more step. Because I added the background and the drop shadow, now I can see where I kind of messed up or where I missed some spots. And this is important for us to be able to finish the second one. So I'm going to switch over to just a plain old regular eraser. And I'm just going to get around the B. And so I'm not actually erasing the shadow, I'm erasing the little noise or the little missed spots around the edge of the B that I couldn't see before without the background or the drop shadow. So I'm just kind of cleaning up the very edges of this B so that my, I can fix that again in a minute with that history brush tool. But I can see that I kind of need to clean this up because it's looking a little scattered. You can see the scatter around the edges here. And by using the eraser tool around the edges to clean that up, it makes it a little better. You can see I'm actually erasing around the edges of the B, and that makes it more clear and cleaned up. But because I did accidentally miss a chunk over here, I can go back to my history brush tool and paint that little wing back on my little B. And so there I am. I've got my B. It has a drop shadow. It has a background. And I was able to use the background eraser tool. And the last thing I have to do is just go to File and Save. And I'm done.